The Family Leader Summit is over. And what did you take away? I've got three men, a pastor, a businessman, and a broadcaster, plus me, to tell you how we think it went. That's live today on The View from a Pew, here on The Truth 99.3.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, thank you very much. 4 minutes after the hour on this 21st day of July in the Lord's year 2015. We will date this show as some of the information we're going to share with you today definitely does not have a very long shelf life. In fact, the way things are going, it will probably change by the end of the show. Very possible. Let me tell you who the team is today. Pastor Michael Damastis from a church over on Army Post Road.
We still aren't going to get it right. Not today, Michael.
Fort Des Moines Church of Christ.
Wow, good job.
Right.
Fantastic.
Not even written down. And my buddy Tom Coates, of course, and on the phone with us, and I don't know if he's hooked up yet on Skype or by phone, but we have I made a new friend on Saturday. And it's hard for me to make new friends. I don't know why. It used to be really easy, but now
Hard to keep the old ones, Mac.
Huh?
It's hard to keep the old ones.
Well, yeah, that's even harder. But anyway, so I got blessed with this guy by the name of Steve Noble, who works for our company and is one of our top talk show hosts in North Carolina. And he has a show on 33 stations in 12 states. And he just sat down, and he and I racket-jawed, the last probably 30 minutes of the show.
15 anyway.
15, and just had a really good time. So I've asked him to come on and join us today. And my superior producer, Ryan, is trying to hook us up on Skype.
I'm here.
Now, you radio people, you don't care if it's on Skype. You just want to hear his voice. But for those of us watching it on webcast1live.com, it's kind of nice to take advantage of that that technology. So Steve, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh my gosh, there he is.
Oh my goodness.
All right, isn't he a handsome fella?
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you really not know why it's hard for you to make friends?
Well, I think you're going to tell me, so I'm dying to know, Master Noble.
It's those white legs you keep
I knew I was going to come back to that.
Yeah, I've been sitting behind the broadcast counter for 2 hours down there an hour and a half down there at the Family Leader Summit, and Steve comes around to sit down next to me, looks down at my legs, and thinks they're neon lights. So you just think if I just did a little spray tan or something like that, I'd be okay?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. All right, now, so can you see us also, Steve?
Unfortunately, I can see you clear as a bell.
All right. Well, the handsome guy over here is Tom Coates, and you met him at the summit. He was standing in front of us.
Indeed.
And I don't think you met Pastor Michael Damastis. He was on with us, I think, in the first hour.
I think so.
But you were gone by then.
Max, should we tell the story about Jindal's advance man calling me?
Yes.
Speaking of that, that was a funny story. This guy calls up and he says, "I'm Bobby Jindal's, one of his state troopers, one of his advanced security guys, and he was at the southeast corner of the building, and we were over at the northwest." And I said, "Well, come around to the northwest." He says, "Okay." He said, "I'm wearing a red shirt." And I jokingly said, "Well, I'm wearing a light blue shirt, and I'm a good-looking guy." And so he says, "Well, I'm a six."
Lie.
He says, "I'm 6'6" and all muscle." So some of those guys have been. I've seen some of them with Jindal, and some of them are huge. And so I'm waiting for this big behemoth of a man to come around the corner, and here this guy comes around with a red shirt, and he's about 5'6".
Yeah.
And I say, "Where's the 6'6" muscle man?" And he says, "Where's the handsome man?"
Oh.
That was pretty good.
And I'm glad you have a sense of humor. So I couldn't have taken that. All right, so Steve, I've got your website up, and I appreciate that. Here's what it is. If you want to look it up while we're talking, it's the letter C, the number 2, the letter A, the word today.com. Can you put that up on the screen for me, Ryan? The letter C as in cat, the number 2 as in 2, the letter A as in apple, and then the word today.com. And that way you can get to realize what some of Steve's passions and all of that are. And one of your passions is politics, because obviously you traveled a long way to be at the Family Leaders Summit. Tell me what you got out of it. Tell me, when you got home and your wife or your friend or somebody said, so what was it like? How was it? What were the memories that you recalled?
Well, I had an opportunity to sit down with Senator Cruz. I'd interviewed him previously in North Carolina when he was here for our state GOP convention. So I spent 30 minutes with him in North Carolina and spent another 25 minutes with him there in Ames. And he's a rock solid guy, knows what he's talking about. Nothing new there. There really wasn't anything new from most of the candidates. Obviously Donald Trump came through as predicted. He's always going to upset the apple cart wherever he goes. But additionally, I thought Scott Walker, who finished it out, I don't know if the crowd was tired, Mac. I don't know what exactly was going on, but that was pretty lackluster appearance by Scott Walker there at the end. I think he could have swept up pretty well, but he didn't. That was disappointing to me. Other than that, I thought everybody else was exactly what I was expecting them to be.
So how did you think the conversation back and forth with Marco Rubio went? Because I think, he's the guy that walked out with a Bible and asked the crowd if he could read from it. And this is sweeping up after Donald Trump did his big poof-ah, which we're going to talk about. But did you see Rubio?
Yeah, I was sitting out there when Rubio came out, and he did a great job. He's always very likable. He's quick on his feet. And not only did he grab the Bible, but he actually knew where to go inside the Bible. He actually knew the New Testament was in the back half. So I'm pretty impressed by that.
And the Bible wasn't upside down either in his hands. That was cool, too.
Right, yeah. What did he read from Matthew?
Yeah, to whom much is given, much is expected, Matthew.
Yeah. Well,
actually, it was Mark. It was Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew chapter 12.
I still think that Rubio is going to come out a star. I don't know if he can. Tom, do you think he could beat Hillary?
Oh, I think absolutely. If it's a heads-up campaign, Mac, I have no doubt that Rubio would be one of a number of candidates who would beat her heads up.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have no doubt. I'm not. Perhaps a lot of people are afraid. I'm not afraid of Hillary. I've told you that many times.
Yeah, I know you're not. Now, do you think Trump could beat her?
I don't know about that one. But I do worry about Trump being the third man in a race that would give it to Hillary. I think that's the only way she gets it.
That'd be terrible. But we'll talk about that later. Now, we should let people know that you're for Ted Cruz.
Yes.
But given that, and your guy did a great job.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Given that, who unimpressed you?
I think that obviously I wasn't really expecting anything less like our friend Steve. I wasn't expecting anything less from Donald Trump than what we got. It was telling that his answer on the forgiveness. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? And then the whole hey, I take the little drink of wine and the little cracker, and that whole thing just took the air out of the room of almost 3,000 people, because it's all largely evangelical Christians that were there.
Michael, were you surprised that wasn't reported at all in the press? Gary Bauer had a comment about it in his paper, but I have seen nothing in the press about that particular answer. Were you surprised there was nothing in there?
Not from the mainstream media, no. I mean, that just doesn't surprise me anymore, that the lack of their coverage. I mean, even just separate issue, but the Planned Parenthood videos, where are they? Why are they not talking about this? And it's just not something that they're really doing until they're absolutely forced to deal with the issue. But no, it's not totally surprising, but it's just kind of par for the course with them.
But it is telling for us that question and that answer in regards to have you ever sought God's forgiveness for anything?
And just as telling when Frank Luntz took a moment to the media that was gathered and said, how many of you in the media gallery here, and there's like 70 people, how many of you go to church? And there's like 8 of them that raised their hand.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And, as opposed to the audience, if he had asked the question,
every hand,
it would have probably been, at least the majority of the people there. And so it's just completely opposite those who are telling the story aren't representing the people who are reading the story.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
13 minutes after the hour, you are listening to The View from a Pew live on the Truth Network, 99.3 FM, powered by webcast1live.com. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, and I try to tell you every day, thanks for listening. I love this job. I couldn't do it without you. Man in my post today is Pastor Michael Damastis, who is from the Fort Des Moines Church of Christ, and Tom Coates, who is just my sidekick for years and years now when it comes to politics.
I'm just kind of a homeless fellow that wanders in off the street once a week.
Remember, I got candy bars in the front of my office if you need any. And today, a special guest, a guy that I'm trying to make friends with, but he keeps telling me about my character defects. But his name is Steve Noble. He is on 33 stations in 12 states across the country with a show that's called Called to Action Today.com. So it's C2A Today, the letter C, the number 2, the letter A, today.com. And Steve was also at the summit, and so I've invited him in. If you're watching on Webcast One, he's on Skype. On radio, he's on the phone. So what did you think of, because you're a follower, you're a faithful follower of Jesus Christ. What did you think of Donald Trump's answer? And by the way, if you didn't hear it, Frank Luntz from Fox News just asked Donald Trump this question. Have you ever asked forgiveness from God? And it was silent. And the Donald was totally blown away. His reaction was you could see the uncomfortableness.
Well, his first response to the question was to go into this big, long discourse of when he went to church as a child and about his pastor. And
Norman Vincent Peale was his pastor.
The power of positive
Joel
thinking.
Osteen of our time.
And so he went in and all, just this whole long thing about, and so when he gets done, Frank Luntz repeated the question, which he had to deal with it. And he just basically threw up his hands and says, well, I don't guess I ever have.
Yeah. No.
And
the answer's no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible response.
One of the things about, you asked about the media not covering that particular question. I found a couple stories out there, but it was not, certainly the McCain comment overshadowed all of that. I think one of the reasons that didn't really hit the media is because 50% of the nation, unfortunately, would probably have pretty much the same answer.
Yeah.
They don't have a clue about what it means to be forgiven. They don't think they're that bad. They're living underneath the axe murderer's gospel, as I like to call it. I'm not one, so I'm going to heaven. And so Donald's answer was only heartbreaking and made sense to those of us, for the most part, that are actually in the faith. I put something up that Sunday morning, the very next morning, because I was sitting about 20 feet away in the media pit from Donald Trump when he gave that non-answer answer. And the following morning, when I was just reading through some Psalms and an old Puritan book called The Valley of Vision, I wrote a little thing called The $10 Billion Man. And it was really heartbreaking to see this guy. He really leapt right off the pages of Scripture. What gains a man that profits the world but loses his soul? And Donald Trump right there was the embodiment of those very words of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And in the end, it was heartbreaking for me to watch that public expression of lostness. And who knows, maybe Donald will be haunted by that. Unfortunately, I doubt it.
Yeah, I think that there are, thousands of people now praying for him and trying to get the gospel to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because as you just said, Steve, it was incredible. I mean, that's a piece of history I'm not going to forget. Not because it's Donald Trump, because a man was faced with a very, very essential question, and he failed.
Right. Asked by a Jew, which was interesting as well. So
yeah.
Well, let me make an observation about Donald Trump.
Okay, I know you hold that observation because we're going to take our first break.
All right.
Steve Noble is live with us. You can check him out at his website, today.com. We'll have that up on the webcast. And I want to. Where did you write that blog? The $6 million, $9 million man. Is that on your blog?
Billion.
The $10 billion man is on my Facebook page. You can get to that through my homepage, but it's just facebook.com/C2A Radio.
All right, we'll talk about that. Tom Coates is in the house. Pastor Michael Damastis from Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. Ryan's producing, and most importantly, you're here. And we're coming back more on the Family Leader Summit on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Thank you very much. 21 minutes after the hour on this 21st day of July in the Lord's year 2015. Great day today. Tomorrow, Michael Megason. Mike Megason, the Megs, on the radio. And we're going to be talking about something really interesting. At least I think so. When you think a thought, is it you thinking it? Or is it the Holy Spirit whispering it in your ear? Have you been able to discern that relationship with Christ enough in your life that you know the difference between what you're thinking and what the great I Am is thinking? Megs will make it interesting. That's tomorrow, live here, 2 o'clock on The View from a Pew. In studio with me, Tom Coates. In studio with me, Pastor Michael Damastis from Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. Services at
10 a.m.
10 a.m. It's Sunday school before, right?
9 a.m. Sunday school.
Yeah. And would encourage you to go. It's a great... Michael, you're just a man of God when you preach. You don't put on any airs. You just get up there. In fact, the one time I heard you got mad. Like you were stomping or something. I don't remember what it was. But if you're like me and you like to visit different churches, which I think that's my new hobby. I think my new hobby is to go to different church services. The church that I go to has services Saturday night and Sunday night, and so I can go to different churches on Sunday morning and still hear my pastor preach. And I would definitely ask you to check out Michael's church.
Well, you need to come back.
Church of Christ.
You haven't been in quite a while.
Couple years.
Come back and see us.
Okay, I will. I will. I love to go to your church. Love to go to all churches. But this time, I'm not going to listen to Steve Noble. Okay, I'm coming in shorts. With my neon white legs.
That's cool because we could turn down the stage lights then.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And on the phone with us is a new friend I'm trying to make. I'm not sure if he's even going to let me be his friend, but I'm trying to make a new friend. His name is Steve Noble. He's on 33 radio stations across 12 states on the Truth Network, and his website is the letter C as in cat, the number 2, the letter A as in apple, and then today.com. And I met him because he was broadcasting live on his show from the Family Leader Summit and really enjoyed having him. And Steve, thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome, Mac. We're friends forever, whether you like it or not.
Oh, no. Now he's challenging me to try to abandon him. This is going to be a difficult relationship. But look, Steve, you can't see my legs here.
Yeah, I'm praising the Lord right now.
Ryan could probably move. Could you get the...
Maybe you could jump up on the table, Mac, and show it to
Ryan
him.
refuses to put the camera below the table. I think Ryan's a smart boy.
God bless that man.
All right, so you started to say something about Donald Trump. Oh, right. By the way, let me just say, I'm reading The $9 Billion Man on your website, Steve. Very well written.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, very well written.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention, before we just mentioned off camera, how a couple people had mistaken me for Rick Perry at the...
Yeah, Tom's sitting at the booth on the radio, and somebody walks up and wants his autograph, and then later on says, "I'm sure you'll do a good job on your talk." Yeah. I'm telling you, we need to get you the Black Buddy Hollywood.
I guess I do need that, whether I really need him or not. I guess I do, but I signed the. She had the Rick Perry page open, and I signed it, Governor Rick Perry. I put down below that, AKA Tom Coates. But,
okay, good. So you were talking a little bit about Trump.
Yes. Well, I had kind of an epiphany, Mac. I watched some of those talks, and I was interested in the different ones. When Bobby Jindal got up there and was asked, I don't remember what the question was that Frank Luntz asked him, but his response was, I wish that the media gave the same kind of coverage and scrutiny to Barack Obama as it gives to every other Republican. Mm-hmm. That place erupted. You talk about, I think, at least from my observation, the longest standing ovation with sound effects that we got in the entire conference from that. And the media, the 60 to 70 that you're talking about, Michael, down the front row, they were really taken aback. They finally started turning around, taking pictures. This thing went on and on and on. Now, not only did that evidence the virulent antagonism that the Christian conservative community in particular has for the media, which I think you touched on earlier. But to me, this also gives rise to what's going on with Donald Trump. Now, if we don't see, the media has savaged him. They started instantly at that press conference that day on Saturday, and they continued ever since then. Their objective is to either force an apology or force the exit of the man, or both. O'Malley the other day said all lives matter. They raised an eyebrow, and he quickly apologized for, I'm sorry, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. So he quickly, was cut to heel. Trump doesn't do that. And here is, I think, the interesting litmus test we're going to see going forward. If Trump's numbers drop only a little bit and then stabilize, and he stays in the race and the media can't force him out, I think this will be an indication that at least the conservatives has such antipathy for the media in this country. And Donald Trump being Donald Trump, which we can talk about that, but I've got my own reservations about Donald Trump besides just his lack of faith. But I think he represents to a lot of people out there an independent, outspoken individual that the media will not be able to bring to heel. Now, I don't think there's others in the race that are that, maybe not as outrageous as Donald Trump, but I think that if he stays in the race and his poll numbers don't drop out of sight now, it'll be because of this antipathy that the conservative people, particularly the Christians, feel towards the liberal media in this country. What do you think?
I am 100% with you, and I don't know that his poll numbers will drop significantly, honestly. You look at just Twitter. and on Donald Trump's Twitter account, he has like 1.6 or 1.7 million followers on Twitter. I know that's kind of a weird gauge, but
are they legitimate followers? Though I know that can be phonied up too.
Well, I guess that's a pretty good.
They can be purchased
thing that needs to be
like anything else.
Yes,
I understand.
But
Hillary and some others did some phony people coming on Twitter and following her. They were rented Twitters from Asia or something.
But here's the deal with Donald Trump. I honestly think that you would find that maybe there's a portion of that would be. I still think those numbers are going to be really significantly strong, simply because of his star power that he's had before coming into the presidential race. Secondly, the next closest in Twitter to him is Jeb Bush, over 300,000. That's a huge drop.
Yes,
and then the next after that is Ted Cruz, and he's got, I want to say, a little over 200,000. So those numbers just represent a pretty large audience that he has. And so I don't know that his numbers will drop significantly, but I think that Donald Trump represents just the stick it to you vote. I'm trying to say that as nicely as I can, but the middle finger vote. He's the guy that a lot of people just want to burn it all down and get rid of everybody, and he's their guy.
Yep.
And if that sentiment carries the weight, Donald Trump could do really well despite all of these gaffes and really big problems that he's had. And I don't like him. I don't want him. I don't think he represents us, and I think that we would be in for a really horrible ride if he was our leader. But I think that's what he represents for a lot of people, So
and that is the independent. You just described an independent, not willing to be an R, not willing to be a D, not willing to commit, waiting for the rebel to come to town to save the day. That's the independent voter. And that'll make the difference in this presidential election.
Well, I guess we'll see on that.
What's Trump's temperature out in North Carolina and along the East Seacoast, Steve?
Well, here's one of the things that really upsets me about Donald Trump. There's an interesting website I would point all of you to. It's called istandwith.com. Like I stand with this guy, I stand with that guy. istandwith.com. And if you go there, they did a really great job of asking through all the different major policy categories, and then you indicate not just what your position is on any given policy, but then how important is that policy to you. Then it compares it to all of the candidates. Now, for me, I'm an uber conservative, constitutional conservative. I teach it to high school homeschoolers. I'm so far to the right, I'm about to fall off the flat earth. So watch this. Here are my scores. Rubio came in at a 98% match. Rick Santorum was a 96% match. Ted Cruz was a 94% match, and Donald Trump, the flavor of the day, 63%. So here's the thing that's remarkable to me. Like with Dr. Ben Carson, who I have great admiration for, he gives a great speech. He's a smart guy, climbed out of the ghetto, gives a great speech, insults the president while he sits 4 feet away from him. And the next thing you know, we're ready to crown him the next president of the United States. We are in a car wreck culture. We love to. You can turn a highway system upside down with one fender bender off the side of the road. It's remarkable how shallow we are as a nation. I think Donald Trump, the fact that he's where he's at, is a horrible reflection on the state of the nation. That guy who's been giving money to both sides. Listen, Donald Trump's life goal is Donald Trump.
That's right.
He is not about representing anybody other than himself. It's just shocking to me that nobody's talking about his total lack of strength on our issues, yet because he gives the middle finger to the media, we're ready to make him the president of the United States. It's really disgusting to me.
Steve, do you agree with my assessment that if he stays in there, it is a reflection on the antipathy of certainly the conservative voters in this country towards the media? He's kind of our gauge on that?
Yeah, I think it's part of that, and I think part of it is, why do people drive their cars into a brick wall while they're staring at Facebook on their phones? We are such a bored culture. We're so shallow, and I know this sounds really uplifting. We're so shallow, we're so bored that he's a great train wreck. What's the guy going to say next?
Right.
And so people tune into the next episode. And so, yes, it's about time somebody doesn't give a rip. I remember when they asked him, well, Charles Krauthammer said this, that, and the other thing about you. And Donald Trump didn't have to answer the charges. All he had to say was, Krauthammer's a hack. And all he does. And some of us sit there and go, yeah, tell it like it is. But you know what? I'm a little deeper than just tell it like it is. I actually want to know what you stand for. And Donald Trump stands for Donald Trump.
Right.
Steve Noble on the Skype with us today, or on the radio with us. He's live from North Carolina, where he is on 33 radio stations covering 12 states on the eastern seaboard on the Truth Network, the same network that we're on here. His website is the letter C as in cat, the number 2, the letter A as in apple, then today.com. C2A today.com. And he wrote a great blog that I just shared on my website called The $9 Billion Man. And I love this.
$10 billion man.
What?
10.
Oh, 10?
Yeah, don't short Donald Trump $1 billion. He'll sue you.
Oh, shoot. I put it as the 9. I'm in trouble now. I'll have to change
the $10
it.
billion man.
All right. Now, Ryan, do you have the Planned Parenthood video? Does that mean you don't have it, or you will have it?
Well,
you will have it.
Technically, I will have it. Are we going to have Steve on the rest of the show?
Yeah, we're going to keep Steve on. Why, you can't do both?
Well, it goes to the same audio bus.
Oh, it goes to the same audio. Well, can we just put Steve on hold while we bring it in? See, this is the transparency of Midwestern radio, Steve. My engineer and I work out all the details live on the air. This is how we're able to fill a whole 60 minutes back in Iowa.
Well, seeing as how you're that transparent, I guess we're ready to make you the president of the United States, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm moving to Canada.
Hey. All right, we're going to take our break. We're going to come back, and we're going to switch gears to the Planned Parenthood video. Oh, I know. You saw it. Yeah, you saw that one, right? No, there's a second one released this morning, and apparently there is a third, a fourth, and a fifth. Could this be the headstone for Planned Parenthood, or at least you and I funding them? We'll talk about it when we come back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you can just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, we're back at 2:38:22 before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. Then the Steve Deace, live back in Des Moines, afternoon drive, only here on the all-new 99.3. All right, Steve Noble is joining us from North Carolina. He's with the Truth Network. He does a show every afternoon. His website is the letter C, the number 2, the letter A, and today. So C2Atoday.com. We'll put that up on the website as well as on the webcast and enable you to see it. Well, Steve, we couldn't play the video and keep you, so we've decided to keep you. Is that all right?
Actually, I would give up my slot for you to play that because I want to do whatever I can to make sure we dismantle, defund, and then prosecute Planned Parenthood.
Well, I've got 3 guys. I'm the only one here that hasn't seen this. So why don't you 3 amongst you talk about what that video says? It's a top PP executive saying that she's haggling over the price of body parts from aborted children.
Exactly. In fact, if your listeners want to find it, it's the top story right now on the Fox News. My app that has the Fox News has this as the top. In fact, Mac, as you said, they claim this group they claim at least 12 really solid videos, thousands of hours of footage. It's a Center for Medical Progress project lead David something making this quote. So they've got a lot of footage. The latest one. The gal is identified as Dr. Mary Gatter,
yeah.
Gatter.
Yep.
She was the president of Planned Parenthood Medical Directors Council until 2014. So she's not some low-level slug again.
Right.
We've got a high-level gal.
Just like Dr. Deborah Nucatella from last week.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's very high up in the organization of Planned Parenthood.
All right, so these people can't walk away from what they're saying. The Planned Parenthood can't walk away from what they're saying.
Correct.
She's drinking again. I mean, just like the gal was drinking wine the other day, this gal is drinking something. And the undercover activist discusses specimen prices, eventually settling after they haggled for quite a while at $100 for intact tissue. And, of course, the lead on this is that they're talking about how she says she wants to get a Lamborghini.
Yeah, she joked at one point because she was saying if that price is still, after we kind of work all this out, if the price is still low, then we can up it because I want a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And she was joking. And but the calloused casualness of this woman and Dr. Nucatella, who's sipping wine, eating her salad, just casually sitting in a restaurant talking about this.
Selling baby parts.
It literally makes Joseph Mengele look like preschool stuff. It's utterly disgusting. Makes me sick to my stomach.
Steve Noble, live from North Carolina. What do you think?
Well, let me give you a little backstory to this. The 3 people that are the brain children behind this whole thing, one of them is a really good friend of mine. His name's Troy Newman. He runs Operation Rescue out of Wichita, Kansas. David Delyden, the guy that is in the video, came to them 3.5 years ago with this idea about setting up a dummy corporation to get into to make it look like they're getting into the business of collecting and then selling human tissue for research. And it took them 3.5 years. Set up the dummy company, set up Facebook pages, business cards, the whole 9. What you've seen is really just the tip of the iceberg, and it's going to get worse. You know, the interesting thing about this, when Cecil Richards, the CEO of Planned Parenthood, came out and they're all saying, well, no, we're not. This is all donations, donations, donations. In the current video, which was released this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, this lady continues to use words like paying, negotiations, and then compensation. And so they keep coming back saying, no, we're not getting paid for this. And obviously they are. But they have literally, like you all said, thousands and thousands of hours of tape. They've got multiple things that they're going to be releasing on a regular basis. And this very well could be, if we keep the heat up, in our news cycle, as disgusting as this is, and this is back to this rubbernecking Donald Trump culture we live in, as disgusting as this is, you give it a week and it dies down and starts to go away. So we all have to do our part to continue to keep this out there in front of the public with all of its gory details to expose these people for exactly what they are. It's remarkable to me. I was wrestling with God on this one, and I'm thinking, Lord, are people like this beyond saving? Are their consciences so seared that the gospel can't penetrate? And of course, the answer to that is no, they're not beyond saving, but it's really easy to believe that they are. It's unbelievable the type of language they use, just in terms of desensitizing. It's a procedure, it's a specimen, like that girl drinking her blood red wine over her Caesar salad, talking about, well, we'll crush above and we'll crush below so that we can preserve the part in the middle. It's like she's talking about getting to the sweetest part of a watermelon in the middle. Get rid of the rind, get rid of the outside stuff, get to the sweet part in the middle. These people are so depraved, it's shocking.
Yeah, Dr. Mary Gatter in this latest video said something very similar as well when she discussed the procedure, and once they got the agreement worked out, she said, we'll go talk to our surgeon who does these procedures and make sure he uses a less, quote unquote, less crunchy method.
Talking about partial birth abortion on some of this, which is also illegal. Certainly the selling of the body parts, as Steve pointed out. Steve, I'm glad to get some of this backstory. You've done, you know a lot. You've done a lot of research on this, and it looks to me like they're very strongly strategic in what they're doing. Not only the 3 years of advanced planning, but as you've said, and I think you're right, if they'd have dumped it all out there right out of the chute, it would have made a big splash, and then it would have quickly gone away. And as we can all see, the media is not anxious to cover this story at all. They'd much rather talk about Donald Trump from sunup to sundown and then some than they would talk even 2 minutes about this particular story. So to keep this slow drip, 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 and maybe the next one will be even more aggravating to the... and I think this is playing not just with us. Obviously, it plays with us. We've had, anger over the federal funding and the even existence of Planned Parenthood for as long as I can remember, and you guys too. But I think this is playing with Middle America, and the more they hear about this, the drip, drip, drip is probably a very good strategic move. I'm glad to hear that, Steve.
Yeah, they've got a lot more of these, and just to share a couple other things with you. When Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, was asked about it, he was asked if the White House would reconsider federal funding for Planned Parenthood. A one-word answer: no. And then he immediately turned away from the reporter to call on somebody else. And then when you look at all the hit pieces coming out trying to make this go away, they're talking about. It's really remarkable to watch how twisted this is, because they're talking about deception and purposely misleading people. These are people who will go inside a lady's birth canal and womb, will purposefully puncture the base of the skull, will suck the brains out, will pull these pieces of the child out, and then they turn around and think they have any kind of moral stance to decry anybody doing anything. It's really shocking, but they will continue to release these. But that's all that these guys can do. It's up to the rest of us to continue to put these things on Facebook, to put them on Twitter. I've tweeted about it today. I put it on Facebook. I'll continue to do that. There's going to be a backlash on all of that, but you just have to keep it out there. It's just like Kermit Gosnell. People have to get a whiff of how insidious this is before they'll do anything. You have to find the bottom of everybody's barrel.
That's right, and I'm with you on that. I've challenged my church, using every inch of social media that we can, leveraging every influence that we have, and I even put it on our church sign to shut down Planned Parenthood now. I think it's important that we don't let this go, and it's neat to see some of the governor's responses to this as well. 7, I think, currently are investigating the funding procedures and policies for Planned Parenthood in their own individual states, and that's fantastic.
All right, Steve, I appreciate you joining us today. You are welcome on this radio program anytime. Steve Noble, he's on the Truth Network. You can catch him at his website, C as in cat, the number 2, A as in apple, C2AToday.com. C2AToday.com. And I look forward to having you on again, Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. You've been wonderful. God bless you guys. Keep up the good work.
You bet. God bless you and the work you're doing in North Carolina.
Keep it up, baby. We'll see you.
All right. Bye-bye. If you haven't seen this video yet, you don't have to see it. It's okay. I just wish, where's all the progressive people? Where are all those voices, those pro-choice people on this? We'll continue this conversation when we come back live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 minutes for the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News with the latest. And then at 3:03, the Steve Deace back in Afternoon Drive here on 99.3 The Truth. In the studio with me is Tom Coates and Pastor Michael Damastis. He is with the Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. Services at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning. Would encourage you to go by and check it out. What's your sermon series right now?
Currently in the book of Amos. I will be preaching a sermon this Sunday on Amos that I'm telling you, man, everybody needs to listen to this because I'm going to be talking about 2 different kinds of preachers, you know, and the preacher who has a career and the preacher who's called. And, you know, it's in the 7th chapter of Amos where he's confronted by another preacher in Israel, and his name is Amaziah, and he confronts the one who's called. And it's just pretty neat, you know, a guy who's got a career and a guy who's got a calling. And there's a big difference there.
Good. I look forward to it. They're also on podcast.
They are, and you can go to our church's website, godsfort.org, and either watch the video of them or listen to them. So.
Yeah. They're visual also?
Yeah, it's all on video. So.
Oh, good. All right. We've been talking about the Planned Parenthood thing. I'm hungry to hear from somebody who's pro-choice. How are you okay with this? You know, I've tried to reach out to Loretta Siemens, who is a very wonderful person. I've known her for years. We're not friends, but we're acquaintances. She has been in the publishing business. She won the Dowling Alumni of the Year a couple of years ago, only to have it taken back from her because she's a huge Planned Parenthood supporter. She sits on the board. She gives them money. I want to hear somebody tell me why this is okay. Because if any other organization was selling, if the funeral business was caught selling body parts, be done, right? I mean, they'd be revoked. There'd be no tomorrow.
I heard a defense, or at least an attempt at a defense this morning when I first caught the story on Fox News, and the young woman that was doing it, I think this is the best they can do right now. She kind of stumbles around, said, well, I'd like to see the full thing. I think maybe some of this is taken out of context. They claim that the first one was edited to some degree. Then she went into a defense of how the tissues could be used for important research. Now, I think Ben Carson put the boot to that in a very informed and scholarly fashion on the interview with Fox the other day, saying that very little, this goes back to when Bush was in there and the discussion of fetal tissue for research, very little of any substances come out with that. Now, adult stem cells have actually yielded, guys, according to the reports that I've read, much more important research and development on cures for diseases than has the fetal. But that was the rationalization a long time ago for taking some of the fetal tissues. And we had this whole, remember the brouhaha under Bush about that? And Ben Carson said very little has come out of it. So this is a rationalization. These people are, you talk about drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
These people are as much hanging on to their ideologies, Mac, as you and I and Michael would if somebody were beating us up over the gospel of Jesus Christ. I think they're hanging just as firmly to their ideology as we would hang to ours. Now, we say that's silly. We're hanging on to something that's
killing.
I understand.
They're murdering 58, a whole generation of people are gone.
Well, you know what Barack Obama did at, the most recent prayer breakfast? He reached clear back into the Middle Ages and the Crusades to try to justify a vision. He's never claimed he's not Christian, but the works on the fruit is on the tree there for everyone to see. He was reaching that far back to try to cast aspersions at Christians. As we are defensive of that, they are defensive of our expose of the ghoulish practices that we are seeing. Do you agree with that, Mike?
I am in agreement with what you're saying about how they will try to defend the indefensible, but it's kind of like arguing the merits of the experiments that Mengele did in Auschwitz. I mean, look what they yielded. What look at all we found out, and that's disgusting.
I know.
To try to have a rationale. By the way, the Center for Medical Progress did answer that with the first video. The first video was 8 minutes 51 seconds long, and it was edited, so they released the 2 hour and 42-minute unedited video so that they could see everything in context, to which, by the way, Cecil Richards, the head of Planned Parenthood, never addressed, by the way, because they didn't take anything out of context. Everything can be seen fully on, in context, and I'm sure they'll do the same thing with this next video that they just released.
This is not a fly-by-night group that came up with this idea yesterday. I thought Steve's background on this whole thing, 3 years of planning, thousands of hours of video. Oh, my goodness. If we can't jerk our $500 million, now we're not talking about small dollars, guys, $500 million in our dollars. Taxpayers are subsidizing this ghoulish behavior. If we can't pull this off, then I would think the voters have every reason in the world to be frustrated with the Republicans in the House and Senate that they sent there to oppose Barack Obama. If we can't do this with this much, then what? I mean, we're absolutely impotent up there in D.C., aren't we?
I think that every organization that is attached to Planned Parenthood needs to feel the pressure of what's happening right now. I think Susan G. Komen, who donates money to Planned Parenthood, people need to put the pressure on this quote-unquote women's breast cancer organization to sever ties all the way with Planned Parenthood. I think that every group that has any association whatsoever.
I heard Long
They need to
John
feel
Silver
pressure.
donates money to Planned Parenthood. Any kind of for-profit group that is open to the public should feel a little bit of heat. You remember the heat that they tried to make us feel for the Chick-fil-A
Yes.
a while back? And, of course, the backlash came back. I don't think there can be much backlash on this. I think any heat we put on ought to make some of those people fold up and we can dry up their funding sources.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm going to try to get, I can't think of her name right now, but the lady that runs kind of the anti-Planned Parenthood organization here in town.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got a list of the donors that gave money, the local companies that gave money. And I'm going to see if I can get that.
That's a good idea, Mac.
Yeah,
Put that out there.
Take a look at that. Because I mean, I've been appalled over abortion so long it's not even funny. And I think you guys know, maybe, Michael, you don't. The reason I'm against abortion is I'm adopted. And I found my biological mother. And she told me, if you had been conceived in 78 rather than 58, you'd be dead.
Wow.
She's a progressive, a liberal, wonderful woman, but she told me that. So I do have a dog in this fight.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we've murdered somebody who can find a cure for cancer.
Right.
I'm sure we've murdered great athletes, and we've murdered great prophets. It's just asinine.
Do Black Lives Matter only out in the inner cities? The disproportionate number of black lives that are taken in abortion is staggering.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we will see you tomorrow. We appreciate you being here. As always, I ask you to forgive somebody that you've been holding a grudge against for a long, long time, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.